Welcome to Rethink You, bringing you ideas, inspiration, and motivation to start living the life you were created to live. Here is your host, author, trainer, speaker, and coach, and founder of Rethink You, Kim Levings.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Rethink You podcast. My name is Kim Levings, and I'm excited to bring you another great guest today. But before I do that, just a couple of updates from Rethink You. If you are not yet a subscriber in our database, you're missing out on a lot of great information. Be sure to visit rethinkyou.com and click to become a subscriber. Next week, on August 25th, I will be launching the Think webinar, and that's available on the website if you click rethinkyou.com/think webinar. This will be a webinar to teach the basic principles of how we think, why we think the way we do, and how our thinking impacts our behavior. So I hope you come along. It's a quick webinar. It's 40 minutes of some great content and then some Q&A, and it's a great opportunity for me to meet you. Finally, the other exciting thing is that on September 1st, I am launching free coaching calls every Wednesday morning, at least for 6 weeks at a time. You want to join that by being part of our Facebook community. So find Rethink You on Facebook. Once you become a member of the Rethink You tribe, you will be able to access the free coaching calls on a Wednesday. No other catch. You do need to be a member of the group, though, and be invited and approved in. And that's because our limit numbers, and for confidentiality, I need to know who's there. But every Wednesday, starting September 1st, there will be this free coaching, and it's at noon Eastern time. I'm doing it purposely in the morning on my time zone, in Mountain Time Zone, so that I can include other countries where I know I have followers in other countries internationally. So this will be fun. It'll be a great opportunity to kind of test drive coaching if you've never gone through coaching before, and a great opportunity to get to know me. Let me now tell you about today's guest, Michelle Thompson, who is the founder of Awesome Outsourcing. Michelle is a genius at automating and outsourcing. And more importantly, she has a powerful story, and I know you're going to enjoy hearing from her. In her own words, Michelle says that outsourcing and automation saved my sanity. After a life-altering stroke at the age of 36, I had to start all over again, from a successful MBA in finance to second grade IQ level overnight. Since my stroke, I've had to learn how to automate and outsource as much as humanly possible. It touches everything I do. Now I am on a mission to help free people from all the unnecessary tasks they do, and I'll stop at nothing to help people get their freedom back. Wow, what a lead in. Michelle teaches people how to delegate and outsource tasks correctly so that they can gain back their time and their lives. Awesome Outsourcing LLC specializes in organic Facebook and LinkedIn lead generation, creating omnipresent content for entrepreneurs, and virtual administrative services. So I'm looking forward to this conversation with Michelle. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to jump into our conversation with Michelle today. Michelle, welcome to the Rethink You podcast. And like I normally start the podcast, I would love to just hear your story in your own words. Introduce yourself and, just tell us your story.
Absolutely. Kim, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So my story is a little different from most people in that I was on the corporate journey, getting ready to, do the corner office, the whole 9 yards. And life kind of threw a wrench in the works a little bit. So I was at work one day and getting ready to finish up a shift, and all of a sudden the computer screen just kind of went completely blank, but only half of it. And I thought, well, what in the world? I need a new monitor. And so I turned and looked, and the black spot moved with me. And I went, oh, that's not good. And so I said to my colleague, I was like, hey, I can't see. And we used to joke around a whole lot and stuff. And they're like, oh, haha, very funny. I was like, no, I'm dead serious. I really can't see. And they're like, oh my gosh, okay, so call the ambulance and get to the emergency room and find out that I actually had a stroke. And the unusual part of that is we had no warning signs. I was only 36 years old. I was very healthy. And it was obviously a bit of a shock. And when I was first at the emergency room, they didn't honestly believe that I had a stroke because I was so young and so healthy. And so they're like, oh, you're fine. It's probably just a migraine, head home, get some rest and go to work the next day. So I did. I went home and I slept, and at this point I was slurring my speech and I was dragging my right side, and I thought, well, this is quite the migraine. And so I got to work the next day, and I sat down in front of my computer, and I could not remember a single thing that I was supposed to do. I used to be able to write an Excel formula right off the top of my head. I didn't even have to look anything up. And I sat down and couldn't remember anything, couldn't remember what I was supposed to do. And so I walked into my boss's office and I was like, Grant, somebody's going to have to check my work because I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, what? And he's like, okay, first of all, I'm not worried about the work. He's like, let's get you back to the hospital. And so we did. And little did I realize that would be my last day at work. Because when you manage millions of dollars, they don't like it when you can't keep track of things. So, right. Yeah. Important. So we went through several, oh my goodness, so many specialists. And we realized that I had a significant amount of brain damage that had actually happened,
Wow.
from the stroke. And, so life as I knew it was pretty much gone. The everything that I learned on the MBA was just, it was like somebody just took an eraser and just wiped it all out. So I thought, all right, great. What now? And
Michelle, what, I had to just stop because I know people are going to ask, what were you doing as a job? I mean, what was that first career before this major pivot point?
Oh, yeah, I guess that would be important, huh? So I was a project controls engineer for a very large construction company. So I was in charge of making sure that we were on time and under budget. And it was a government project, so it was several $1 billion. So
wow. And you mentioned you had an MBA at that point, right? What was your education in finance and in project management?
Correct. It was in finance. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, please pick up where you were. I just wanted to fill that piece in.
Yeah. Sorry. It's so funny. You get to talking and you forget the things that you don't even mention. Yeah. So I finally got to a neurologist who said, okay, Michelle, unfortunately the brain damage is permanent. So now we just have to try to help you live a normal life. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that answer. And so I said, all right, well, at least let me try. I'm only 36. I can't sit on the couch and, just watch Friends reruns for the next, 40 years. So we tried, and I didn't make a whole lot of progress. And it was because I was the problem. I was miserable. I was grumpy. I felt that life was unfair. And if I'm quite honest, I pretty much wanted to end it all. In fact, I had made the decision that I didn't want to hurt anybody else. So I was just going to drive my car off a cliff and let nature take its course. And I remember being at physical therapy, and I remember my physical therapist looking at me and saying, you know what? Like, she kind of had to come to Jesus meeting with me. She's like, you know what? You have no idea how lucky you are. And I was like, what? How dare you tell me that I'm lucky? And she's like, you're lucky. She's like, first of all, you should be dead. Second of all, you're still here, and you're living in a time where we have so much technology that if you would just let me help you, you could have a pretty normal life.
Wow.
And I went, ouch. And what's funny is people ask me all the time, well, didn't you get really mad at her? And, at the time I was a little miffed, but I went home and I thought about it for like 2 or 3 days. And you know what? She was absolutely right. And that was exactly what I needed to hear, because
Yes.
I was wallowing in, oh, woe is me,
And, and Michelle, that, I want to interrupt again just to say, I think that that's such a common human reaction. And most people will say, well, gee, at 36, you had a stroke, completely lost everything. I think you had a right to play the victim and to moan and whine. But how wonderful that she was able to tell you the truth and help you see what you do have. So, wow, that I just wanted to re-emphasize that, because sometimes we do need people that I refer to as challengers in our lives to help challenge us in a loving way.
Yeah. And I mean, it was amazing. She did exactly what she was supposed to, because I was so stuck in the past. I was so stuck in, I literally lost my house, everything that I owned, everything that was in the bank. It was all gone. It all went to medical bills. And I was just like, great, I have no way to ever get any of that back. And, and she's like, how about you just look forward at what you do have, and that was not the easiest thing to do at the time. But so what happened was, long story short, was she literally taught me over the next year or two how to outsource just about every single piece of my life. Because the brain damage never went away. It stayed. And so I did get my vocabulary back. That was a great part, but I still can't do math. I'm at about a second grade level, and I still can't remember things. So I don't remember to do normal things that we take for granted. I don't remember to take my medication. I don't remember to turn a stove off after I've turned it on. I sometimes get confused and pour water into a toaster versus the coffee pot. So just little challenges. So now I live in a very controlled environment, and I have pieces of software everywhere that help me function. And I live a very normal life now, which is awesome. And so what happened was we started, outsourcing literally every single part of my personal life, from remembering to brush my teeth to let the dog out. And I thought, well, I'll be darned. If we can do this with everyday life, why can't we do it in business? And the MBA started kind of clicking. And I was like, it's just a bunch of systems and processes. Let's figure out how to do that in business. And so we did. I had a side hustle going, right? I had a little blog that I was working on, and after the stroke, I wasn't able to write anymore. I just couldn't remember things in sequence to be able to put a sentence together. And the cool part is since that time, I've written a book.
Wow.
Now, I haven't written the book. What happened was I got on camera and I talked, and then I hired, I have a full-time writer. His name is Noriel. He's amazing. And what he did was he took my video and he took the concepts and he turned it into sentence, paragraph. And so each video was a chapter of the book. And so I was able to download what was in my brain, and then through systems and processes, train virtual assistants how to do every single task. And so what started happening was I would go to bed and I'd wake up and there'd be like 30 hours worth of work in my inbox. And my colleagues are like, what the heck, Michelle? I can't even do that in a week. How are you doing it overnight? And I said, well, I'm not doing anything. And they're like, what do you mean you're not doing anything? I said, I'm not. I literally delegated all of it. And they were like, okay, show me how to do that. And so I was like, okay, let's try. Right. And so we did. And it worked a little too well. And so what happened was people started coming out of the woodwork and they're like, holy cow, Michelle, teach me how to do this. Teach me how to do this. And so I thought, all right, great. Let's do what everybody does. Let's set up a course and teach everybody how to do this. Right. And so we did, and we launched the course, and the feedback that we got was, Michelle, that is amazing. This is your superpower. I don't want to learn this. Can you just go do it for me? Wow. And so I was like, absolutely not. Because my fear was that I was going to like create an agency and have virtual assistants that were working for other people, and I wouldn't be able to keep track of them. And so what happened if something went wrong? And so I literally told all my friends, no, I can't do that. And they're like, all right, Michelle, we know that you're good at this. Just try. And if you fall flat on your face, we're not going to hold you accountable. And I went, okay, that's fair. Right. So we did. And so I decided, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. It's not about the money. Let's change some people's lives. And so I personally do all my outsourcing out of the Philippines. I absolutely love the Filipino culture. They speak English as pretty much their primary language inside of, any type of hospital or school or anything like that. And but their standard of living is much different than ours. And so I decided, you know what? I got so sick and tired of people coming to me and saying, well, I'm going to hire somebody out of the Philippines. I'm just going to pay them $1.75 an hour and they'll just be happy and do whatever I say. And that used to just burn me up. And so I thought, you know what? Let's take everything we hate about outsourcing and flip it on its head. Let's pay them the equivalent to $50,000 a year in the United States. Let's pay for their retirement. Let's pay for their pension. Let's pay for their health insurance. Let's do all of that. And so I just said, okay, you guys want me to go hire people for you? This is what it's going to look like. We're going to change people's lives when we do this. And so when I went to all my friends, I was like, okay, this is what it's going to cost. And it's because it's not just about getting tasks off of your plate, but we're also changing other people's lives in another country. So they're like, all right, awesome, let's do it. And that was kind of how Awesome Outsourcing was born. So it all happened from a stroke, crazy enough.
Wow. No, it's just such a fabulous story in terms of using what you've got and using the circumstances to turn things around and literally to rethink. And I chuckle because so many times I say to folks, you need to take care of yourself and you need to manage your life. Otherwise, life will figure you take care of you. And you lived through that and, were able to reshape it. I also chuckle because I can think of so many entrepreneurs and leaders who know they should delegate, know they should outsource, and yet they don't. And in your case, you had no choice and you realized the benefit of it. So, wow. And Michelle, besides the fact that, from the brain science point of view, there's a lot to learn there. So I'm not going to get too geeky on that. But I did want to say, as you've recovered your faculties, are there still kind of core root source things that have always been a part of you that never went away? What part of your brain did you lose versus keep, for want of a way to phrase it?
Yeah. So I got super lucky, to be real honest. So the stroke actually happened in my brainstem. And so the best guess is it cut off oxygen for about 2 to 3 minutes. And that was how I lost the math. And I was able to regain a good part of the vocabulary, but we still play charades in my house a lot. So I'll be like, I need to do the thing where you put the clothes in and they come out clean because I can't remember the word washer. So we play charades a lot, and my staff is very used to playing charades, which is great. And what happened was, and I used to stutter quite a bit. And what happened was we figured out that it was because I was nervous and I was very embarrassed about the fact that I had lost so much of my capacity. And so when my therapist got me to slow down and she's like, Michelle, if you just tell everybody else that it's okay, they'll stop walking on eggshells. It'll make you more comfortable and you'll stop stuttering. Now, I, as a side effect, I still have, I have migraines and seizures. And so I still slur my speech when that happens. There's nothing I can do about that, but I've gotten a good bit of that back. So I can't tell that there's a change in my personality, but my family can. They said that I'm very different than before the stroke. I'm much more stoic, I suppose. I used to, I guess, laugh a lot more. And so that part has definitely changed. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, I got super lucky in that I was able to keep my motor function. I didn't really lose I only lost my motor function for about 2 or 3 weeks, and that came back. So it must have been just the swelling and freaking out, and then that came back. So I was very, very, very lucky.
Right. You were lucky. And I mean, as your therapist said, really blessed that you were able to do this. So, hi there. It's Kim. And I wanted to just stop by and say, I hope that you're enjoying this episode. If you are, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe, whether you're on a podcast feed or the YouTube channel. As you know, putting out media takes time and effort, and we live for subscribers and reviews. So if you think this is a great podcast, please tell the world about us and be sure to subscribe. Thank you. Now let's get back to today's interview. Now, if we sort of switch over to the business side a little, awesome outsourcing, and we're going to have all this information in the show notes, listeners, so you'll be able to find Michelle. Talk to us a little about the typical kinds of things that you outsource, or that business owners outsource. And I know one of them is, lead gen and working with LinkedIn and other leads. So talk to us a little bit about some of the processes and how you've put them in place for business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same exact thing with each person, but it's tweaked just a little bit because everybody's processes are a little bit different, right? So the very first thing that I do is I have people do a time audit. So I have them sit down and figure out every single thing that they're doing for a week. And then they have to ask themselves, what happens if I just delete this altogether? Will the world around me crumble? And if the answer is no, then what we do is we put it on a 30-day test. Let's just not do that for 30 days and see what happens. How much of an impact does it have on the business? Then what's left? Yes, this will have a major impact. We ask, okay, do I personally have to do this, or can I get someone else or a piece of software to do this for me? And so then those are the things that we again go through and categorize by job description. And then we have what's left over is these are the things that I absolutely must do myself. And then we ask ourselves, okay, what pieces of that can I still take off my plate? So for example, here's a great, most people think that they have to do their email, right? It's their inbox. They have to be able to answer those emails. Here's a really clever way that we've found to take what used to take an hour and now takes 5 minutes. So what my virtual assistant does is she logs into my email and she goes through and she gets rid of all the junk and spam and all that good fun stuff. And then she marks the ones that I have to pay attention to as to-dos. And then she'll record a really quick video and say, hey, Michelle, here's all of the emails that came in today. John said this, Joy wants to schedule. What do we do about this? And then what I do is I go on and I record a really quick Loom video. And I say, okay, please tell John this. Please schedule Jan for this. And so then what happens is I've gone through and I've answered 20 emails in about 3.5 minutes. She takes that and she then transcribes word for word exactly what I said into my email and sends them out. Wow. And so it's a lot of times we have to think about how do we free up not just our time, but also our brain capacity, right? How much time does it take you to sit there and just type, right? When you could just talk and have somebody else do it. And so what I tell people is when you're delegating, take a look at what you're making per hour. And if the task is less than that, you can pay somebody less than that, then you should get it off your plate. Now, we can't, now that obviously there's a point where it doesn't make financial sense, right? If you're going to delegate that task, and let's say you're paying somebody, $2,000 a month, you should be able to then take up those 30 hours that you freed up per week and turn that into $10,000, right?
Right. Billable time. That's what's important.
Yes. Yeah. And if we can't do that, then okay, something needs to change. There's a problem somewhere. But you shouldn't be doing any type of admin type task. You should, not only does it free up your time, but also frees up your brain capacity. If we can keep you in your zone of genius, doing what you're really good at, that's where we need to keep you the majority of the time.
Right. That's fascinating. So I think that, it's interesting, and this is not about me, but my listeners know I always interject my own thinking. And I'm soon launching a class called From Me to We, the shift from entrepreneur to CEO, to help entrepreneurs realize just that, on, how to leverage your time, that your business will grow when you have a team to help you, because you're increasing your capacity to do what you said, your genius. And so that's an important part of outsourcing. But I know too that many times, specifically entrepreneurs or one-man or one-woman bands, they're not used to delegating. They like everything done their way. And they're like, nobody's ever going to do it the way I like to do it. How do you help people through that natural resistance to delegating?
Yeah. And it makes complete sense, right? Because we've worked so hard for this baby. Like, we don't want to give this baby to anybody else because they might hurt my baby if they don't do it the way that I did it. Right. So it makes complete sense. I totally get it. And so what we do is we train our VA to do it exactly as you would have done it. And so right now you're currently still doing the task, right? You haven't been able to give it to anybody else. So what we do is, it'll take you an extra 5 minutes, but trust me, there's a snowball effect that happens. Just hit record. Record yourself on Zoom and literally walk through step by step exactly what you're doing. So an example I love to use is like a social media graphic, right? Here's a funny story so I asked Noriel to go out and create a graphic, and I said, hey, find something that looks professional and, looks really good. That's all I told him. When I got it back, it was literally a businessman in this dark black suit with this hat, with this umbrella over top of him. And it looked like it was raining. And I had the complete opposite idea in my mind. I was like, light and airy, find something white. So and it's because it was my fault. I didn't tell him anything. Right. So what I did was I went through and I said, okay, Noriel, I'm just going to record, and I'm going to create a graphic together. I'm like, okay, I would pick this picture because I like the way that the gentleman has his hands. It's an open stance versus a closed stance. I like the smile on his face versus the very stern, right? These are our colors. We need something that matches with our brand. Here's our brand board. And so what happened was, I had expected him to read my mind. And when I made just a simple social media graphic, I was making tons of micro decisions instantly in my brain that I never downloaded into him. And so if we can take a second and just walk through and say, okay, in QuickBooks, we need to put it in this category because it goes with this client, even though their name says this, right? There's so many little things that we know, right? And so if we can just take the time to just do one video a week. And then what we do is we take that video and we give that video to the virtual assistant and say, okay, I want you to create a step-by-step instruction manual, standard operating procedure on exactly how to do this. I want pictures, I want arrows, and then you should be able to duplicate this exactly as I did it. And if we can do that with one task at a time, what happens is we've freed up 30 minutes. Now we've freed up an hour. Now we've freed up 5 hours, 10 hours, right. And it just snowballs. And what happens is without realizing it, we're training the VA to work exactly as we would have because we downloaded our brain. And if that VA ever leaves, we have all that video training. We don't ever have to train again.
Yes. Well, that's it. I mean, being a training professional myself, that was the part of your story that really caught my eye, because I'm like, yeah, that's really what training is. It's replicating processes so that they can be repeatable. Yeah. Without you having to retrain every time you delegate the task. So that's fascinating.
And that's also the first part of delegating, right? Is the first part of delegating is do it step by step, as I say. The second part of delegating is, okay, now you have ownership over the process. You know the idea of what I'm trying to do. You go make the decisions, right? And so it's a 2-step process. Yeah.
Yes, because by then you've established trust. So you know that they can do it, right?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Years ago, Ellen DeGeneres had a routine, and my daughter and I still use the term, the gimme, I got it. She was talking about somebody trying to change channels and they didn't know how to use the remote. And she's just like, gimme, 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 I got it. And that gimme, I got it mindset is so common, not just with entrepreneurs, but with leaders in general. It's like, yeah, just gimme, I got it, because they haven't got the patience. So I love that it's easy enough to just video record and then pass that on to train somebody. This has just been a fascinating discussion, and I know so many business leaders are going to enjoy it. But as you've built this business, Michelle, what sort of gifts and talents have you seen within yourself that have really come to the surface as you're doing this, that perhaps weren't there before, or you weren't aware of them before?
Yeah, I think I had no idea how good I was at taking a tangled mess, and being able to untangle it and turn it into processes. And I see the world in processes now. It's kind of funny, you go to Starbucks and you're like, okay, that coffee's nothing more than a process, right? And so I see the world in systems and processes, and I had no idea that I was that good at that. And so that's kind of my superpower. The other thing too is I've been able to care a whole lot and put that on both the client side and the employee side, and make sure that we're really taking care of both the client and the employee, and making sure that we're doing the best for everyone in a very ethical way. And I didn't have the opportunity to do that before because I was working for another company. And so that's been super cool to be able to expand on that.
Right. No, it's powerful. I'd like to also just take a couple of minutes to talk about automations, because we've spoken about outsourcing, and I'm sure, as you said, you have a piece of software to drive all kinds of things for you. What are some of your favorite automations that you think people should think about in their lives?
Yeah. So if you're still manually posting on social media, oh my goodness, please get a scheduler to do that. You can use Hootsuite, you can use Meet Edgar, there's 100 of them out there. Just find one that works for you. Zapier is the world's best hidden tool. You can pretty much get, I don't want to talk too much Greek, but there's what are called APIs that will integrate into your customer relationship manager system. So
Yes.
where you keep all your clients, and it'll send a zap over to like everywhere. Like I use Entreport for my CRM, and we have a zap set up for literally everything, so that all we do is click a button and it automatically sends the contract. It automatically sets up a folder in Google. It automatically sends them the onboarding documents so that all the information's filled in. Once the information's filled in, it automatically goes into a Google Sheet. And so literally all the information's there, and we haven't had to do anything. And it's because we were able to automate it. And we literally just use Entreport, we use Google, and we use Zapier.
Zapier. Yeah,
it's
Zapier,
amazing.
You're right. It is the best gift to technology. For those of you who haven't explored with Zapier, make sure you do, because Zapier does, in fact, basically connect all those dots so that you've got all these independent systems. You can get them all talking to each other through Zapier. So yeah, that's powerful.
And if anybody's interested, people ask me so many times, what do you automate? I actually made a course that I give away for free. It's called Software Can Be Sexy. And I know, right? It's funny. And so there's a coupon code. It's free, all one word, YEPITFREE. And if you put that in there, it'll literally give you the course. Didn't mean
fabulous.
To, but it's about 6 hours, and it literally goes through every single piece of software that I use in my business to make it easy. And the majority of them are free, which is awesome.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to check that out, it's just on Teachable. I can obviously get you the link for that, Kim. And
yeah,
please,
that's great. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Beg, borrow, and steal it. Use it.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's great. Software Can Be Sexy. And then the code is, it's free. And I will make sure we put all of this on the video too. And it's on Teachable. So you can search it there, or we'll put the link in the show notes. So really, really good. And yeah, I know I recently integrated my CRM with automated systems. And you're right. It's like once you've built it, it's like, oh, I just don't have to think about it. So I'm constantly saying, how many tasks am I doing more than once? It's a repeat task. I should be automating it to reduce the time. So Michelle, one of the questions I like to ask as we get near the close here is I normally say to people, what are some life lessons that you'd pass on? And wow, I mean, you've had some incredible, but if you had to just pick one or two even that you would like people to really learn from your experience, what would they be?
This one will sound weird, but
weird is good.
Okay, weird is good. We like weird. I would honestly have to say, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is nothing more than feedback. And if you look at it as a positive, when you failed, okay, great, that didn't work. What can we change to make it a little bit better next time? You will find that you're not afraid to go out and try things because failure is nothing more than feedback. And eventually you get it right.
Excellent. And I'm writing that down because that's something I definitely want to add. Failure is nothing more than feedback. You're so right. And I think many times people are afraid of failure because they have this unrealistic pursuit of perfection. And they just want everything to be great and they don't want to admit they make mistakes, but that's how we learn. Very good. Very good. Anything else, Michelle? What's right in front of you that you're excited about right now? What's on your radar?
Yeah. So we have a big, audacious, hairy goal to create 300 jobs. So we want 300 VAs, and our goal is to have that in 3 years, and we are right on track. So that is something that I'm super excited about because I know every time that I provide another job, we're changing an entire family. And that's what gets me super excited.
Oh, that's fabulous. 300 jobs in 3 years. When did you set that goal?
The beginning of this year, actually.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's wonderful. And you're right on track. I love that because you're right. You are changing lives and impacting families by creating good, healthy employment opportunities for people in the Philippines. That's fabulous.
Thank you.
Anything else? Is there anything else that you wished I'd asked you that you'd love to share with us?
Oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank. I don't think so.
No worries. No worries. You're allowed to draw a blank.
Thank you.
You of all people can draw a blank.
It happens frequently. I've gotten very used to it.
Yeah. So maybe perhaps at the risk of being sort of openly transparent, can you think of besides your stroke, what massive failure or turning point was your biggest learning that comes to mind? Because, we all have failures and we're quick to say, oh, well, you have to learn from your failures. But what failure do you wish that you hadn't had to learn from?
Yeah. I think this will, again, sound kind of weird, but I wish I wouldn't have been so stubborn about educating my mind. I was so into business, we got to set up the structure, we got to do this. And what I found was every time I leveled up the business, it was because I leveled up myself. I had put time and resources into making myself the best version that I could be. And so when I became that much better, the business became that much better. And I wish I hadn't been stubborn about that. I'd be further along than I am.
So you were stubborn at first. So you didn't do that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. The whole, you're supposed to read a book every month. Oh no, I wasn't going to do that. Now I go through several, and I don't read them. I listen to them because it's a lot easier, but it's amazing how much you learn. And I don't let myself pick just one topic, right? So I'll have, the next one coming up is Cybernetics. That's, and right now I'm listening to the seven levels of intimacy by Matthew Kelly. And so I pull from all over the place.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
And the audio version of Cybernetics is fabulous. One of my favorites. And I often said, like you, that even though I'm not a post-stroke victim, I said Audible significantly changed the amount of books I consume. That and Thinker and Reddit and other apps that you can get truncated versions of books. But you said something there that's so important, and I think that's almost the point I I want to underline as we close is that you couldn't level up your business until you leveled up yourself. And what a great learning for anybody. You don't have to be a post-stroke victim to get to that learning, that leveling up yourself is critical. And I often say to folks, especially leaders and business owners, if you don't have a coach, if you're not developing yourself, then you especially need to be developing yourself, because that's the first lesson. The business will never outgrow your level of competence. It's the going back to John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable, it's the law of the lid, that the business will never grow beyond your lid. So I love that. It can, because you're it. Yep. So I just absolutely love that. Well, Michelle, this has been a delight. I feel like I have a new friend, and I'm definitely going to be talking to you more about awesome outsourcing, and certainly software can be sexy. Just fabulous.
Thank you so much, Kim. This has been so much fun and such a pleasure. I really appreciate the time.
Oh, thank you. And I know, listeners, if you want to connect with Michelle, make sure, by the way, that you also click subscribe on the Rethink You podcast channel, and look for the show notes when we publish, and you'll be able to contact and connect with Michelle and her team at Awesome Outsourcing. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next go round.